Hello, guys. Welcome to Nursing Tutelage. This is the home of comprehensive lessons. If you do love our content and find it very useful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification button so you don't miss out on any of our videos. So let's get into today's video. So today we are going to be looking at the excellence theory. We would take a brief look at what the theory is about. Then once we are done, we will be solving examinable questions with regards to this particular theory. So let's get straight into it. So the excellence theory was propounded by James Gronick, and this theory presents a set of 9 generic principles. Generic in the sense that these principles can be applied in all contexts or in all situations. Okay, and these principles presented by the theory is to serve as a benchmark for effective practice of public relations anywhere in the world. So, just a quick rundown of the 9 principles that are presented in this theory. So, one of the principles is that public relations should be involved in strategic management, meaning that public relations should have a say or contribute to the overall organizational strategy. So public relations should be intentional and not just a tactical function which is adopted when the need arises. It should be ingrained or it should be part of the overall strategy of the organization, just like other departments like finance and marketing. The second principle is that public relations should be empowered in the dominant coalition. The dominant coalition has to do with the topmost management of the organization. So, for effectiveness in the practice of public relations, the PR practitioner within the organization should be part of the topmost management so that they can have influence or they can have a say in decisions that can impact the communication strategy of the organization. And then the third principle is that public relations should be an integrated function. The field of public relations comprises of a lot of functions such as media relations, events, internal communication and employee relations, as well as investor relations. And for effectiveness, all these functions should be coordinated under one department. It shouldn't be separate functions on its own. This is to ensure that there is consistency in messaging. Okay. And then the public relations should also be a management function that is distinct from other departments or functions. You know, the field of public relations is related to other fields like marketing, advertising, and also human resource management. That's the HR department. But most of the time, most organizations mistakenly um, use the PR department as part of marketing or even under the marketing department. And because marketing serve different stakeholders like customers, and public relations is intended to serve different stakeholders like employees, investors, and all that, it is important to separate the function of public relations from other related functions to ensure that public relations is able to reach out their targeted publics. And then the fifth principle is that the role of the practitioner within the organization should be a managerial role rather than a technical role. Because with the technical role, they are at the execution stage where they are asked to issue press release, they are asked to communicate. Okay, but once the practitioner is occupying a managerial role, what it means is that the practitioner will have access to or will have an influence on decision making and also policies. that affects the overall communication strategy. The sixth principle is that communication flow or the model of communication should be two-way, symmetrical. So the organization should adopt a two-way symmetrical model where they communicate and also audiences respond and also have a say in the communication. The same should be done for internal communication within the organization as well. The seventh principle is saying that there should be two-way model of communication with employees so that employees can participate and also have a say in decisions because they are also important publics or stakeholders. And then the eighth principle is that public relations should there should be capacity building for the managerial role because one of the principles, which was the fifth principle, is that the role of public relations within the organization should be a managerial role. And for the PR to be able to be effective in occupying this role, they have to be ingrained with knowledge for research and other professional knowledge for them to be successful. So the organization should also make provisions for continuous training and capacity building so that the PR or the managerial role that the practitioner is occupying can be effective. And the last principle is that there should be diversity across the roles of public relations. The diversity has to do with gender, ethnicity, as well as um, cultural diversity in the practice of public relations within the organization. Most of the time, the females are not privileged to promotions when it comes to the practice. Most of the time, it is the male counterparts that occupy managerial roles or they are promoted. So there should be some level of diversity when it comes to promotion and also across the functions of PR. Now, there are critics or criticisms about this, the effectiveness of this theory, where some scholars are arguing that it is sometimes impossible or sometimes it is impracticable to implement some of these principles because there are factors that influence the adoption of these principles, such as the level of activism, political systems also have an influence on the adoption of these principles. So that takes us to the next segment where we want to take a look at some reflection questions related to the excellence theory. So these are examinable questions that can be asked about the excellence theory. I will read the first and the second, then we look at how we can solve these questions. So the first one says that the excellence model of public relations falls short of providing scholars and practitioners the tools that they need to conduct and study global public relations. Discuss the validity or otherwise of this statement. Quite similar to the first question, the second says the excellence theory, which was developed by James Grunick, David Dozier, and their colleagues, is a widely accepted framework for understanding public relations. However, its limitations in the context of global public relations are a subject of debate. Discuss the validity of the statement. So basically, when we look at these two questions, what the question is trying to emphasize is that the question is asking you to, it is in the form of an argument. So now you understand the principles of the excellence theory. There are nine principles which are saying that once you are able to adopt and implement these nine principles, then you will be able to achieve excellence in public relations. The question is asking you to discuss the limitations of the theory. That even though the theory is giving us nine important principles, what are some limitations or what are some areas that the theory fails to address, or what are some concerns that the theory fails to address? Let's take a look at how we are going to approach such a question. So, this is a suggested answer, a possible way that you can structure and go about this particular essay question. So, first of all, you can begin with a paragraph that defines the excellence theory. So, you can begin by saying that the excellence theory was propounded by James Gronick. I'm sure this was stated in the question. Just in case it's not stated, you can go ahead by saying that the theory was propounded by James Gronick, and the theory presents a set of nine generic principles that can serve as a benchmark or that can serve as a guide for effective practice of public relations. So once you are done defining the excellence theory, then you now go on to establish your stance. The question is asking you that, do you agree? Discuss the validity of the statement that the excellence theory falls short, or it has limitations that makes it difficult for scholars and also practitioners to apply it in global public relations. So now you have to establish your stance. So the stance is that the statement is valid. The statement is valid in the sense that even though the excellence theory provides a set of guidelines for effective practice of public relations, it does not fully address practical and context specific challenges when it is being implemented globally, or it has limitations when you apply it in global context without adapting it to the context or the local dynamics. That's when the limitation is. So that is your stance. Now you have to build your point, or you have to present your argument. So why are you saying that the theory falls short of giving all the tools that practitioners need to conduct global public relations? So we are now about to present our argument. So you begin by saying that one reason, or one of the reasons why the theory falls short of, I mean, providing the necessary tools for practitioners to conduct public relations in a global context, is that it has cultural and political limitations, or one of the reasons is cultural and political differences. So we know that international public relations is largely shaped by the diversity of cultures and also political systems across different nations. And what this means is that public relation practitioners operating in a global context are now required to adapt their strategies to respect local cultures, traditions, and also government structures. But what the excellence theory is doing is that it is assuming that certain conditions such as freedom of expression, okay, are universally present. And this is not true, because political systems and cultures are all factors that limit how some of the aspects or some of the principles of the theory, such as two-way way of communication, are implemented. Because, for instance, in an authoritarian political system where the media is state-owned and also the media is suppressed, there's no freedom of expression. The PR function may be one that is relying on propaganda, because the political system wouldn't allow for open dialogue. It wouldn't allow for engagement or two-way communication between public relations and stakeholders such as investors, the media, and also internal publics. Okay. So these factors have an influence on how these principles are adapted. Or before the practitioner can adapt and implement these principles, such as two-way communication as stipulated in the theory, they now have to consider or they now have to take into account the cultural dynamics as well as the political system, okay, before they adapt these principles. That is our first argument of why the theory falls short. Let's take a look at the second one, that is resource and also structural constraints. So the theory also lays some emphasis on knowledge potential for managerial role. That is the eighth principle, where it was saying that there should be capacity building or opportunities for the managerial role of the practitioner so that they can improve. Okay, but we know that for management of organization to invest or to provide knowledge potential for peer practitioners, it comes with resources, it comes with budget. Okay, and the theory seems to presume that there is um, there is sufficient allocation of resources for the PR. Okay, but we all know that this is not always the case. For some organizations, not much resources is allocated to the public relations department. Okay, so budget constraints influence the implementation of the aspect of the theory that says that there should be knowledge potential. You've not considered the fact that some organizations may not have the resources to actually invest in building the capacity of the PRO within the organization. Okay, so what steps should such organizations take in situations where they may not have the required resources to build capacity of the manager? So the third argument is organizational diversity and industry variation. We know that public relations work or operates in different industries. So we have the finance sector, we have the food sector or the production and manufacturing sector, we have the health sector, and different industries and sectors within which public relations operates, and even NGOs. Okay, so we have to acknowledge that the dynamics in public, private, and also NGO sectors are different because the organizations within these sectors, they all have different missions and also they operate in a different context. Because these industries have different missions and also focus, it actually affects their communication strategy. Because for instance, for industries like the ones in the public sector or those that they face strict regulations, they will be more open to two-way model of communication where they have to constantly listen and also respond to their stakeholders. But when we look at the private sector, where their motive is to make profit, they are serving customers who are demanding quality product and all that, and they are also investing a lot of money in what they produce. Their focus is mostly on quick sales. They want to make their money. And most of the time, they will lean towards a one-way promotional way of communication rather than dialogue. Okay. So the industries vary. It is the same for the organizations. There is different organizational diversity. So this model of the excellence theory does not offer flexibility because you are saying that two-way model of communication is the best. But for certain institutions, it will not be the best. The model that will be best for each institution has has to be aligned with their focus or their strategy. And the last reason is it has to do with rapid digital and activist dynamics. So when we look at the excellence theory, it predates or it comes before the social media era. Okay. Now the social media is characterized by speed and a fast paced environment where there is constant information flow. And because the theory was developed before the rise of social media and also online activists or activism, it actually limits the effectiveness of the theory in the sense that when we look at modern global PR or modern international public relations, it requires that you manage not just information flow on the traditional media, but also information flow on digital media. So you have to constantly manage online misinformation, disinformation, and also online activism. Okay. And even though the theory is prescribing a two-way mode of communication, it does not address contemporary challenges that comes with the digital space. The use of digital media requires surveillance where you have to be monitoring your online space. You have to be managing viral crisis, viral hashtags of activism or activist groups such as the Fix the Country campaign, the Black Lives Matter and all that. The theory is not giving guidelines or steps to be able to address issues that comes with the use of digital media. That's why we are saying the theory falls short, because if you are saying that a PRO has to stick to just these 9 principles for effectiveness and you are not addressing certain issues which are outside the 9 principles, it means that the theory falls short. It means that the theory cannot be adapted or adopted to address certain issues. Okay. So these are some key points that highlight how the excellence theory falls short. So once you present this argument, then you can conclude by emphasizing the fact that the theory is one that is desirable. It is one that it is organization should aspire to achieve, but also they have to recognize that in adopting these 9 principles, they have to consider certain factors or certain contextual variables before they implement these principles. So thank you for your time. If you found this video useful, subscribe to our channel, share with colleagues. Let's keep growing this community.